Multiple waves of Arctic air are about to slam into North America in a pattern meteorologists are calling historic.
I'm not talking about your typical winter storm.
I'm talking about back-to-back-to-back blast of frigid temperatures that will transform the entire eastern half of America into a deep freeze for weeks. At the 4-minute mark, I'll reveal the exact dates when each Arctic wave hits and the specific cities in the danger zone.
By minute 8, you'll know the 3 locations where this winter pattern creates the most life-threatening conditions.
And at minute 15, I'll give you the complete survival checklist that could save your family's life.
I promise you, this information could literally save your life.
Here's a number that should get your attention. 1/4 inch of ice is forecast to accumulate across lower Michigan, and I'll explain exactly why that's catastrophic. Now, you might be thinking 1/4 inch doesn't sound like much, but let me tell you something that most people don't understand about ice storms. 1/8 of an inch of ice is enough to make roads deadly. 1/4 inch can snap power lines and bring down trees. 1/2 an inch of ice can bring down major transmission lines, and 3/4 of an inch can collapse cell towers. We're talking about tens of thousands of homes potentially losing power in the middle of winter with Arctic air moving in behind the storm. And here's what makes this particularly dangerous. When you lose power during an ice storm, you lose everything. No heat, no lights, no way to cook, no way to charge your phone, no way to get information about when help is coming. Stay with me because what's developing right now is not just one weather event. It's a fundamental pattern shift, a complete change in how our atmosphere is behaving that will dominate weather across most of America for the next 3 to 4 weeks. The National Weather Service has already posted winter storm watches across Pennsylvania, and that's just the beginning of what's coming. Over the next 24 hours, we're going to see those watches expand into New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, and throughout the entire Northeast corridor. This is real, this is happening, this is not a drill, and most people have no idea what's about to hit them. Let me paint you a picture of what's coming based on the latest model data from the National Weather Service and European forecasting centers. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, a powerful storm system is absolutely hammering the West Coast with unprecedented intensity. We're talking about feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains, with some areas seeing snowfall rates of 3 to 4 inches per hour. Flooding rains across California with rainfall rates reaching 2 inches per hour in some areas, turning streets into rivers. Wind gusts are strong enough to knock down trees and power lines, and that's just the appetizer for what's coming next. But that's just the opening act. The main event begins the day after Christmas, December 26th, and it's going to be brutal. That's when a major winter storm begins to organize across the Great Lakes, and by Friday evening, it's impacting millions of Americans. From Michigan to Maine, this storm will bring a deadly combination of heavy snow, destructive ice, and life-threatening cold. Now, let me explain the meteorology behind why this storm is so dangerous, because understanding the science helps you prepare better. We have 3 different air masses colliding: warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, cold Arctic air from Canada, and Pacific moisture from the west. When these 3 systems collide over the Great Lakes region, it creates what meteorologists call a perfect storm scenario. The warm air rides up and over the cold air at the surface, creating layers of different temperatures in the atmosphere. Snow starts falling from the clouds, but as it passes through that warm layer, it melts into raindrops. Then those raindrops hit the cold air near the surface and instantly freeze into ice when they touch anything solid. That's how you get ice storms, and that's exactly what's setting up across Pennsylvania, Michigan, and parts of Ohio. Now here's the timeline I promised. The exact dates when each phase of this winter disaster unfolds across the country. December 26th, Thursday morning. The storm system organizes across the upper Midwest, with heavy snow beginning across Minnesota and Wisconsin. By Thursday afternoon, the storm reaches the Great Lakes, with Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Kalamazoo seeing the first ice accumulation. Thursday evening, the storm strengthens rapidly as it moves east, with Cleveland and Toledo joining the ice storm zone. December 27th, Friday morning.
The storm explodes across Pennsylvania with significant ice accumulation from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Friday afternoon, New York City gets hammered with 8 to 12 inches of heavy, wet snow, while ice continues in Pennsylvania. Friday evening, the storm reaches New England with Boston, Hartford, and Portland, Maine facing blizzard conditions. Saturday morning, December 28th. The storm moves offshore, but that's when the real danger begins as Arctic air floods in behind it. Saturday night through Sunday, temperatures crash 30 to 40 degrees in less than 12 hours across the entire eastern United States. Any surface that was wet from rain or melting snow instantly becomes black ice. Invisible death traps on every road. Sunday through Tuesday, December 29th through 31st, the first Arctic blast arrives with the coldest air in over a decade. We're talking about actual air temperatures of 10 to 20 below zero across the Midwest and single digits across the Northeast. Wind chills will drop to 30, 40, even 50 below zero in some areas, cold enough to freeze exposed skin in under 10 minutes. New Year's Day, January 1st, a second Arctic blast arrives, this one even colder than the first, setting up a pattern that could last for weeks. Now let me tell you about the 3 locations where this winter pattern creates the most life-threatening conditions. Location number 1, Lower Michigan, specifically the corridor between Detroit and Grand Rapids, including Lansing and Kalamazoo. This area is looking at ice accumulations of 1/3 to 1/2 inch, which is absolutely catastrophic for power infrastructure. Power outages are virtually guaranteed, affecting potentially 500,000 to 800,000 customers in the middle of winter. When temperatures drop to single digits after the storm, homes without power become uninhabitable within hours. Location number 2, the Interstate 95 corridor from Philadelphia through New York City to Boston. This is where heavy snow combines with coastal flooding as astronomical high tides arrive at the same time as the storm. Storm surge and high winds will create dangerous flooding in coastal areas right as blizzard conditions develop inland. Transportation will be completely shut down. No flights, no trains, no buses, and highways will be impassable. Location number 3, the Tennessee Valley, including Nashville, Huntsville, Chattanooga, and parts of northern Alabama and Georgia. This area rarely sees significant ice storms, which means the infrastructure is not prepared for what's coming. Power lines in these areas are not built to handle ice loading, and tree branches that never face winter storms will snap easily. Emergency services in these areas have limited experience with ice storm response, making rescue operations more difficult. Now let me explain the meteorological pattern behind all of this, because understanding it helps you understand why this is so unprecedented. The polar vortex, that ring of extremely cold air that normally stays locked around the North Pole, is becoming severely unstable. When this happens, pieces of Arctic air break off and plunge south into the continental United States like frozen missiles. This isn't just a quick cold snap. We're talking about a sustained pattern change that could dominate weather through mid-January. The Great Lakes are still relatively warm from the unusually mild fall and early winter, and that's actually making things worse. When bitter cold Arctic air moves over these warm waters, it creates massive snow-producing clouds that can dump feet of snow in hours. Buffalo, Syracuse, Erie, and all the lake-effect snow belts are looking at potentially historic snowfall totals. Meanwhile, the jet stream, that high-altitude river of air that guides our weather patterns, is taking a sharp dip south. This allows cold air to penetrate much deeper into the southern states than normal, which is why places like Tennessee could see ice storms. The combination of all these factors is creating what meteorologists call a 1,000-year weather pattern, something we rarely see. Now, I know some of you might be thinking this sounds like fear-mongering or media hype, so let me give you the hard data. The European model, which is generally considered the most accurate long-range forecast model, shows this pattern persisting for 2 to 3 weeks. The American GFS model is in complete agreement, showing multiple Arctic blasts and potential for several more winter storms. Temperature departures from normal are forecast to be 20 to 40 degrees below average across most of the eastern United States. These aren't just cold snaps.
We're talking about sustained periods where normal life becomes impossible without proper preparation.
Let me tell you what temperatures of 20 below zero with 40 miles per hour winds actually mean for human survival.
At wind chill temperatures of minus 40, exposed skin can freeze in less than 10 minutes.
That's frostbite in the time it takes to walk to your car.
Car batteries fail.
Tire pressure drops dramatically, and diesel fuel can actually gel up and stop flowing.
Water pipes freeze even in heated homes if they're near exterior walls, and heating systems start failing under the extreme demand. Natural gas demand spikes so high that some utilities have to implement rolling blackouts to manage the load.
This is when we start seeing the real emergencies, not just inconvenience, but actual life-threatening situations.
Now let me ask you a question that could determine your family's safety over the next month. If the power went out in your home right now and stayed out for 2 weeks during sub-zero temperatures, would your family survive? Do you have enough food that doesn't require cooking? Enough water for drinking and basic hygiene? A way to stay warm without electricity? A way to communicate with the outside world when cell towers go down? A way to get information when the internet is out? Here's a statistic from FEMA that should concern every American. 75% of families don't have basic emergency supplies for even 72 hours. 3 out of 4 families are completely unprepared for extended power outages, let alone the kind of weather disaster that's coming. Don't be part of that 75%, not this time, because help might not be available when you need it. Let me tell you the reality about government emergency response that most people don't understand. FEMA estimates they can provide emergency aid to about 2% of affected populations for approximately 3 days at any given time. When millions of people need help simultaneously across multiple states, the system becomes completely overwhelmed. Local emergency services do their absolute best, but they can't reach everyone when roads become impassable and resources are stretched thin. Emergency shelters have limited capacity and may not be able to accommodate everyone who needs help. This is why personal preparation is not just recommended, it's absolutely essential for your family's survival. In Proverbs 22 verse 3, Scripture tells us, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and suffer for it." This is divine wisdom speaking directly to our situation. God gave us the ability to see warnings and respond appropriately. Right now, you're seeing the warning clearly, and the question that will determine your family's fate is simple. How will you respond? Here's your complete survival action plan. Write this down because your life may literally depend on it. First, food and water for a minimum of 2 weeks. Not just snacks, but real food that doesn't require refrigeration or electric cooking. Canned goods, dried foods, peanut butter, crackers, protein bars, and 1 gallon of water per person per day minimum. Fill every available container with water before the storm hits. Bathtubs, large pots, clean buckets, because water systems fail when power grids go down. Second, alternative heating that doesn't depend on electricity. This is absolutely critical, and most people get this wrong. Even if you have natural gas heat, your furnace won't work without electricity to run the blower and control systems. You need a wood stove, kerosene heater, propane heater, or generator. Something that can keep at least one room warm enough to prevent hypothermia. If you use any fuel-burning device indoors, you absolutely must have proper ventilation and carbon monoxide detectors. Third, communication and information access when normal systems fail. Battery-powered or hand-crank radio to receive emergency information. Multiple flashlights, lanterns, and plenty of batteries. Power banks for your cell phones. But remember that cell towers go down in ice storms, so don't rely solely on your phone. Consider a NOAA weather radio that can receive emergency broadcast even when regular radio stations are off the air. Fourth, medical supplies and medications. This is where many families are dangerously unprepared. If anyone in your family takes prescription medications, get at least a 30-day supply right now before the storm hit. Comprehensive first aid kit, thermometer, pain relievers, any chronic condition medications, and basic medical supplies. When emergency services are overwhelmed and roads are impassable,
You become your family's primary medical responder. Fifth, cash money. When the power is out, credit cards and ATMs don't work, and most people forget this critical detail. Have at least $500 to $1,000 in small bills hidden safely in your home. Cash becomes the only currency that matters during disasters. Sixth, vehicle preparedness, because many people will be caught traveling when this hits. Every car should have blankets, sleeping bags, food, water, flashlight, phone chargers, jumper cables, and a small shovel. Keep your gas tank at least half full at all times because gas stations lose power too, and fuel helps keep your engine block from freezing. Sand or kitty litter for traction, ice scraper, snow brush, and basic tools in case you need to make emergency repairs. Seventh, home winterization and maintenance that could prevent disaster. Know where your main water shutoff valve is located and how to use it, because burst pipes can flood your home in minutes. Insulate pipes in unheated areas. Seal air leaks around doors and windows, and check that your roof can handle heavy snow loads. Have tarps and plastic sheeting available in case your roof develops leaks from ice dams or heavy snow.
Now let me talk about something that's just as important as individual preparation: community cooperation and mutual aid. This is where your survival chances go from good to excellent, and it's something that brings out the best in people during crisis. Talk to your neighbors today, right now, before the storm hits. Find out who has what skills and resources. Who has medical training? Who has a generator? Who has a wood stove or fireplace? Who has a ham radio or emergency communication equipment? Who has elderly or disabled family members who might need extra help? Who has young children who might need shelter if their heat fails? Create a neighborhood communication plan. How will you check on each other when phones don't work? Set up resource sharing agreements. If one house has power and another doesn't, how can you help each other? When society's normal support systems break down, tight-knit communities become the only things that ensure everyone survives. In Acts 2:44-47, we read about the early Christian community. All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. When crisis comes, this is how we survive and thrive. Together, sharing resources, taking care of each other. Now let me address something important. I'm not trying to scare you into panic. I'm trying to motivate you to wise preparation. In 2 Timothy 1:7, Paul writes, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Fear paralyzes and causes poor decisions, but wisdom prepares and takes appropriate action based on good information. You have power over your situation through preparation. You have love for your family by keeping them safe. You have a sound mind by making rational decisions based on accurate weather forecast and emergency management principles. Let me also give you hope along with this warning, because winter storms, even severe ones, are temporary events. Communities that prepare well and work together not only survive these challenges, but often come out stronger than before. There's something beautiful about how winter storms bring out the best in human nature. Neighbor helping neighbor, stranger helping stranger. These acts of kindness and cooperation reflect the character of Christ and build community bonds that last long after the snow melts. So yes, prepare seriously for yourself and your family, but also look actively for opportunities to help others. Maybe it's sharing your generator with a neighbor who has medical equipment. Maybe it's inviting someone without heat to stay in your warm home. Maybe it's using your four-wheel drive vehicle to help emergency services reach people who need assistance. These opportunities to serve others in crisis are gifts that allow us to demonstrate love in action. Let me give you one final timeline summary because this information is absolutely critical for your planning. December 26th. Major winter storm begins across the Great Lakes with heavy ice accumulation across Michigan and northern Ohio. December 27th. Storm explodes across Pennsylvania and New York with catastrophic ice accumulations and heavy snow. December 28th.
Storm moves to New England while dangerous cold air floods in behind it across the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic. December 29th to 31st. First Arctic blast arrives with record-breaking cold and dangerous wind chills across the eastern United States. January 1st through 7th. Second Arctic blast brings even colder air with potential for additional winter storms. This is what's ahead, this is what's coming, and this is your final opportunity to prepare before it's too late. In the next 48 hours, complete your preparations, stock your supplies, check your heating system, fill your prescriptions, connect with your community, adjust your travel plans, and make sure vulnerable family members and neighbors have what they need. After Thursday morning, travel will become increasingly dangerous, and by Friday, it may be impossible in many areas. Remember, in Ecclesiastes 3:1, Scripture tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." This is winter's season. This is nature's time to test our preparation, our character, and our commitment to caring for one another. But remember also that God walks with us through every storm. He gives us wisdom to prepare and strength to endure. He gives us communities to support each other and the promise that every winter eventually gives way to spring. The storms are coming, the cold is coming, and yes, the tests are coming that will challenge everything we think we know about survival. But spring will come too. The cold will eventually break, the snow will melt, and life will renew itself as it always does. For now, winter is here in all its fierce power. Respect that power. Prepare thoroughly for its challenges. Trust that with proper preparation and strong community connections, you have everything you need to not just survive, but to thrive. Stay safe out there, watch the forecasts closely, make wise decisions, help your neighbors generously, and know with absolute certainty that this too shall pass. But how well you prepare now will determine how your family experiences it. God bless you and keep you safe through these storms. Be wise in your preparations. Be kind in your interactions. Be faithful in your trust. Be generous in your helping, and stay connected as this historic weather pattern unfolds. Because weather never stops, communities never stop caring, and together we're stronger than any storm nature can send our way. Stay prepared, stay connected, stay hopeful, and remember that we're all in this together. This is your final call to action. The question that will determine your family's fate is simple. Will you answer it?